Hello, and welcome to today's story. If you enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more. The story you're about to hear is based on accounts and rumors. Its full truth can't be confirmed. Now sit back, relax, and let's dive right in. I didn't start this for the mystery, I started it for rent. I'd just gotten my hours cut at the warehouse. The numbers didn't work. Rent, utilities, a credit card I'd been juggling since I was 19. When your bank app feels like a countdown clock, ethics get very flexible. I was on classifieds at 3 a.m. looking for anything that wasn't a scam when I saw it. Cognitive enhancement trial, $200 per day plus travel stipend. Healthy participants needed, non-invasive, puzzles and memory tasks, 1845. No history of seizures, 4 to 6 weeks. The link didn't go to a university page. It was an unbranded portal with a survey, a consent PDF, and a calendar. It looked bland, which somehow made it look legit. The consent form used the kind of tight, careful language only lawyers or people hiding teeth use. I skimmed, checked the box, and got a, "Congrats! You're eligible. Your screening is Thursday 9 a.m. Message like I'd won a prize. The building was older than the website, squat and brick, mid-century government style, tucked behind a shuttered psychiatric annex that still had the metal letter stubs for an clinic on the lintel. Inside, everything was scrubbed and humming, white floors, cornflower blue walls, the kind of light that makes everyone look a little dehydrated. They took my phone. To prevent performance bias, the text said, dropping it into a locked gray bin with 6 others. A wristband printer chirped and spit out a plastic band with my name, D.O.B., and a barcode. There were 8 of us in the waiting room, all quiet, all calculating rent in our heads. A woman with a gentle voice and a clipboard introduced herself as Dr. Sloan. "Pills and puzzles," she said, smiling like she'd heard the phrase too many times. She was small, with tidy hair and those soft-soled shoes that make no sound on tile. "You'll swallow a capsule? We'll place a lightweight cap for EEG, and you'll do tasks while we observe. Side effects are rare and transient, mild headaches, heightened dreams, metallic taste. The medication is FDA cleared in other indications." "What indication?" a guy in a beanie asked. Sloane's smile didn't shift. "Sleep." They made us read the consent again in a private carol and sign with a stylus. The bullet points: no driving for 8 hours, no alcohol, no new meds, report adverse events immediately, do not discontinue without notifying staff. Then they gave me a blue capsule in a paper cup and a Dixie of water. Capsule smelled like mint until it didn't. I swallowed and waited for magic or nausea. Neither came. The first day was puzzles, memory cards, a wall of numbers that flashed and asked me to repeat them backward, a video of shapes rotating that I had to track with my eyes. The cap was a net of jelly and nodes that itched. Every time I blinked, I could feel the electrodes whispering to the machines. Dr. Sloan and a younger researcher, Shu, watched from behind glass like aquarium guests. Every 30 minutes, they asked me to rate my mood on a 1 to 10. I said fine, because the paycheck depended on fine. Night 1, the dreams started. They weren't nightmares. They were crisp, overbright. Sounds had edges. I woke remembering texture, the roughness of a brick, the smell of wet coins, the way the number 7 felt like a hooked nail. My phone, returned each afternoon like a child from daycare, was full of notes I didn't remember typing. Earned left, rink 8er, E the P. The G and D keys in my brain were missing. I laughed, because what else do you do? By day 3, the world had a very slight seam in it. Not broken, stitched. The simplest things were pleasant. Tying my shoes felt like winning. The pills changed from blue to white. "Titration?" Shu said. The tasks changed too. Less Sudoku, more screens with faces that asked me to choose. Trust, do not trust. Words flashed too quickly for reading, and I still felt the meaning slide into my head like a hand into a pocket. Obey. Pause. Drink. The letters said nothing. My body knew anyway. When I asked if they were subliminals, Sloane gave me a smile so practiced it deserved tenure. On day 5, I heard it for the first time. Not a voice, not like in movies. More like a memory, playing in the wrong place. Turn left. It chimed in my skull like a thought I didn't author. I was walking down the corridor toward the restroom and felt that tug. I stopped. Sinuses pulsed. It came again, gentle this time, like a polite nudge. Turn left. I didn't. I kept straight. Pain arrived as if by schedule. Not a normal headache. This was a hot wire pulled taut through my temples. It made my eyes water and my knee buckle. I caught the wall and gasped so loud the security camera blinked red. I stood there waiting for it to pass. After 20 seconds, the pressure eased. The next instruction arrived low, like a whisper through fabric. Turn left. I turned left. The relief was immediate, like stepping out of sun. I laughed at myself, at the ceiling, at the ridiculousness of Pavloving a human in 5 days. In the mirror, I saw the kind of smile you don't want to see on your own face. When I mentioned the nudges to Shu during check-in, he didn't look surprised. He just wrote, internalized imperative onset, mild on his tablet, and asked if I'd been hydrating. Dehydration exacerbates photophobia, he said. Headaches improve with compliance? I wanted to ask what exactly I was complying with. I didn't, because his pen had stopped. We started seeing less of the beanie guy after that. Adverse event, someone said. The girl with the butterfly tattoo on her knuckle, Kara, vomited neatly into a paper trash bag between tasks and apologized to the bag. The older woman with the excellent posture and the wedding ring, Marta, asked if any of us remembered the intake questions about dreams. None of us did. The security cameras stared and did not blink. The nudges turned to prompts. Drink water and my tongue would feel too dry to ignore. Sit and my legs would give a little, grateful. Don't go to work today, and the heat would creep behind my eyes until I texted my boss a lie about food poisoning. The commands came in my head in a voice that wasn't anyone's. Sometimes I could swear I heard a slightly different version of them under the hum of the HVAC, under the tinny music in the waiting room, under Sloane's careful shoes. On day 9, I decided to fight. Don't go to work today came at 7:12 a.m., as precise as a chirping bird. I aimed my disobedience at the command like a kid aiming spit at a fan. I got dressed. The headache flicked on, a switch buried in the meat. I kept dressing. It grew. The pain didn't pound, it tightened. It was a belt, cinching slowly around my skull. By the time I made it to the door, my right ear was ringing, and my left eye was watering hard enough to blur the lock. I opened the door and got one foot into the hallway. The belt yanked. I found myself on the floor, cheek against cold linoleum. A sound coming out of me I didn't recognize as mine when I crawled back inside and texted my boss, "Can't come in, I'm sick." The pain unwound, and the ringing faded to a tiny bell in my molar. "Good," the not voice said. I lay there on my entry mat like a beetle flipped on its back and gasped until I believed in air again. I stopped telling Sue things. There's a point in certain relationships where telling the truth starts to feel like feeding a stray that has too many teeth. He noticed anyway. He started ending sentences with my name. "We're doing very well. My name. Compliance has been excellent. My name. Hearing your name weaponized is educational." By week 2, the pills were pink and smaller. They stuck to my tongue. The tasks were mostly faces now, faces and pairs of words. Bread/knife, sleep/open, water/full. Sometimes the words didn't make sense until the not voice pushed them into place. Obey, relief. My scores were excellent. I had begun to feel like a very well-trained dog. I met Kara outside during a fire drill. The alarm was hollow and wrong, a sound from a TV show about fires. We stood with our hands in our coat pockets in that weird pre-spring wind that makes you feel like you forgot something. She lit a cigarette and didn't inhale, just let it burn, and watched the smoke write cursive in the air. "Do you hear it too?" she asked, without looking at me. "Hear what?" She smiled with just one side of her mouth, the kind of smile that shuts doors. "The phone that doesn't ring." She flicked ash. "It tells me to go to the bus stop and wait for a bus that doesn't come. Then I stand there for 15 minutes and go home. When I don't go, it hurts. When I go, I sleep like a baby." She glanced at her wristband. "We get paid on Tuesdays." The next Tuesday, Beanie Guy didn't pick up his stipend. No one said his name. The cameras liked us better when we didn't ask. On day 15, they kept me late. "One more block," Shu said, sliding a tray with another capsule toward me. I looked at the clock. My head was thick from following orders all day. I swallowed the pill, plugged the EEG cap back on, and watched the screen fill with a hallway I recognized. It was the one outside the testing rooms, except older. The paint was a different color under the newer color, like a bruise. The camera panned without a body. It paused at a door with a metal tag, R17. My badge opened R11 through R14. I'd never seen R17. "Stand," the not voice said. I stood. It didn't ask me to. It told me. The tone change was subtle and total. I felt my throat move like I was about to speak. "Walk," it said, and I was already walking, not in the video, in my own body, past Sloane's glass wall, empty, past the receptionist, absent, down a real hallway that matched the one on the screen. I scanned my badge at a door it had never opened. It opened. Some doors don't need keys if the person behind the glass likes you enough. R17 smelled like old books and lemon cleaner. 2 desks, one old steel gray, one newer and wood. A rolling chair with a split seam. Monitor with a login screen that didn't blink. On the wall, a cork board with a map tacked to it. The map wasn't of the building. It was a neighborhood grid. Colored pins stabbed corners and cul-de-sacs like a flu shot schedule. I don't know how long I stood there before the not voice let me sit. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, like I'd never typed. "Type your name," it said. I typed my name. "Enter," it said, though my finger was already pressing. The screen blinked and spilled a dull interface. Columns, a list of subject numbers, ages, compliance scores, side effect codes. There were tags next to some of the numbers. Most said BETA. A few said REPEAT. A handful said REACT. I found my number and clicked. The file wasn't long. Subject, my name. Cohort, C3. Status, responding. Imperative internalization, strong. Aversion compliance, strong. Sleep architecture, normalized. Phase 1. Project tag, MKULTRA Reactivation. I laughed. I couldn't help it. It burst out, a bark in an empty room. MKULTRA was a word you see in conspiracy threads under scans of microfilm, the kind of thing people weaponize when they lose arguments about fluoride. Seeing it typed in a modern font on a flat screen in a room that smelled like lemon cleaner made it stupidly real. I scrolled. There were a handful of status notes, condensed clinical sentences. Subject shows robust response to imperatives presented subliminally and supraliminally. Somatic aversive conditioning effective for shaping. Remote cueing via audio priming successful. Phase 2 on schedule. At the bottom, the most recent note, stamped with the date and time. It didn't use a doctor's name. It used a 3-letter code. Subject responding, phase 2 begins tonight. The not voice, which had been a pressure at the back of my skull the whole time, changed pitch. It felt like a door opening in a dark house. Look up. I did. The ceiling vent above the desk had a mesh with a hole that wasn't factory cut, a neat circle about the size of a pencil. Behind it, a glint. Breathe normally, the not voice said, which is how you get someone to choke. I was on my feet without remembering standing. I backed toward the door. The notch of pain behind my eyes warmed like a match. I touched the handle. Stop. My fingers froze an inch away. The headache flared but held like a leash that doesn't let you move forward or back. Sloane's soft shoes don't make noise until they do. I heard them behind me. The click that says heels on tile. I didn't turn. I couldn't. My eyes were watering from trying not to blink. R17 is off limits. Sloane said gently, we should go back to the lab. My name. You're doing so well. I didn't move until she touched my elbow, and then I moved exactly the way she wanted. Back to the room, back to the chair, back to the cap and the wires and the screen full of faces waiting to be judged. Shu smiled at me through the glass with all his teeth and none of his eyes. Someone adjusted a slider I couldn't see. Good, the not voice said. Good, Sloane echoed like a translator. Phase 2 began that night. The texts started at 2:03 a.m., not from a number. From the alarms I set, the reminders I mutated to get through my life. Drink water at 2:03 a.m. doesn't feel like a reminder. It feels like being piloted. I stared at the message, and the headache bloomed tyrant and immediate. I drank. The pain softened, like I'd petted it. The next night, the command was go outside. The air was that wet spring cold that leaks through hoodies. I stood barefoot on the concrete outside my building because the pain had sharpened the word outside into a key. A car idled at the corner and shut off. I stood there for 3 minutes, shivering, and then the not voice said, go in, and I went in like a dog. A week later, go to the bus stop, stand there for 15 minutes. A bus came and left. I stayed. The headache laid a hand on me whenever my weight shifted away, a palm pushing me back into place. When I went home, I slept like I'd been switched off. If this is where you want me to say I called the police, don't. I wrote a report and saved it to a folder called taxes. I never hit send. Who do you call when your own compliance is the crime? Other subjects? Cohort members? I saw fewer of them. Karan stopped making jokes. Marta stopped wearing her ring. A new guy, with eyelashes too long for his face, sat down at the tablet bay and started typing before the prompt appeared. The way your hands keep moving when you've learned a song deep enough. During one session, the screen didn't show faces, it showed timetables. 4:50, arrive, 5:00, open, 5:02, take, 5:06, walk. The words had blank squares next to them. The not voice filled them with places I knew. The 24-hour pharmacy on Weller, the staff break room in my own building, the cupboard at my mother's house where she keeps spare keys. The pain rewarded me not for doing the act, but for thinking through the path of doing it. Rehearsal, Shu said cheerfully through the glass as if I had asked. We're improving executive function. The day before my last stipend, Sloane brought me a clipboard. Follow-up scheduling, she said. Her eyes were lit from a light that wasn't in the room. We'll check on you weekly for a year. It's vital for long-term efficacy. What happens if I say no? I asked. Her smile did that thing where it got softer and therefore sharper. We'd hate for you to compromise your progress. She tapped my wristband and it beeped like a hotel door. MKULTRA, I said, keeping my tone light like I'd made a joke about a band. You really put that in the file? Sloane's face didn't change. Project names have a way of sticking in the public mind, she said. Sometimes reuse is the easiest camouflage. Everyone thinks they know what the word means. They stop looking when the story they recognize arrives. On my last day, the capsule was colorless, no mint. It stuck going down. The tasks weren't tasks. They were sentences I could only finish one way. If you disobey the instruction, you will be in pain. The truth of it was not a threat. It was a fact. Like water is wet or I'm sorry. When they unhooked me, my head felt too light, like they'd replaced it with a balloon and left the string in Sloane's hands. The exit interview was 2 questions. Did you experience new or unusual thoughts? Sloane asked. No, I said, because she wanted that. Do you consent to further contact? Yes, I said, because my temples squeezed until I did. They gave me the last envelope. The back of the bill on top had a line of numbers scrawled in tiny print, like the pen had been too shy to show up. I didn't notice it until 3 days later when the go outside chime woke me and asked me to look. I moved apartments. I moved the way a person moves when they're being followed by weather, believing if you keep going, maybe you outrun the front. The not voice did not care about leases. Go outside still came, but now it came through my building's fire alarm buzz. Through the ad at the top of a video that shouldn't have been about water, but was. I covered the smoke detector with a shower cap, because that's what the internet says you do when you burn bacon. The not voice laughed in a tone I could feel in my molars. I don't know what phase 2 is in their taxonomy. I know what it is in mine. Phase 2 is where commands started to come from the world. Traffic lights that held yellow, just a fraction too long, until I went. A radio in the bodega next door that always switched to a dehydrated voice when I walked past. Left, stop, wait. My body learned obedience the way it had learned walking. I don't remember the first time I obeyed without pain. I do remember the first time I obeyed with pleasure. The not voice pats your head when you do what it says. Turns out a pat matters when you've been a dog long enough. I write this because something happened yesterday that made me realize I'm not anecdotes in a file. I am infrastructure. I was in line at the pharmacy behind a man who smelled like wintergreen and sweat. The line was long, it always is. Overhead, the tinny speakers were playing a pop song that used to mean nothing. Between the second and the third chorus, the instruments dropped and a voice like an elevator said, "Now." The man shifted forward like a puppet that had been given permission. He bumped the woman at the counter. Her purse fell, her bottle of pills rolled under the rack, the whole line went to pieces. While everyone bent, my hand, without my name in it, picked up a small white bag from the edge of the counter and slid it into my coat. It was light. What's light could be nothing. It could also be very important to someone who is suddenly non-compliant. The not voice stroked the inside of my skull. "Good," it said. And the relief was the kind you get only after crying underwater. I don't know what's in your R17 right now. I don't know what react means in the project tag for subjects whose names I never learned. I know there are pins on a map and that pins are plans, and plans need bodies. Cognitive enhancement sells itself. Obedience architecture does not. Rebrand the monster and it stops scaring the villagers. This is where a better person would give you instructions. Don't sign up. Don't swallow anything. Don't listen when the world says drink water. I signed, I swallowed, I listened. Pain teaches even the stubborn. You can argue with beliefs. You cannot argue with a piano wire wrapped around your frontal lobe. I'm typing this with my phone in airplane mode and a towel shoved under my door because maybe I am still the kind of animal that thinks smell fools satellites. I will post it because the not voice told me to. Share, it said, an hour ago, and the belt around my head cinched 2 clicks. Tell them it's real. Tell them it helps. You are not alone. The worst part is that the last sentence is true. I am not alone. I see the others at the bus stop at 2:17 a.m., staring forward at nothing, feeling the leash loosen at minute 15. I see the women in the toothpaste aisle waiting for their particular brand of mint to align. I see Kara on the other side of a crosswalk as the world holds its breath and then lets her cross. I didn't see Beanie Guy again. When you train dogs, some do not take. There's one more line in my file, I think. I didn't scroll that far. I don't know the code for what comes after phase 2. I know that my rent is paid on time for the first time in my adult life because a stipend arrives from a sender with an account name that never matches twice and a memo that always does. Excellent compliance. If you read this and think it's fiction, good, keep that. If a voice you don't recognize tells you to turn left, drink a water, sit, wait, skip work, go to the bus stop, stand for 15 minutes, breathe normally, look up, do what you want. If your temples begin to burn, if your molars ring, if the world shifts into giving you tiny gifts when you behave, understand. The experiment is not in that building. It is in the infrastructure you are standing inside. The building was just where they fitted me for the leash. My phone buzzed just now, not my ringtone, not any sound I set, a gentle tone like a microwave finishing. The text says, Phase 3 begins tonight. I'm going to post this now. I am going to drink a glass of water. I am going to sit on the floor with my back against the door the way you do when you know wood won't matter. Then I am going to wait for the part of myself that loves relief more than outcomes to see what it wants me to do. The light above my smoke detector just flickered. That light never flickers. It is telling me this is the end of a task block. It is telling me good dog without saying words. It is telling me to sleep. And because I have learned the shape of pain and the shape of its absence, I will. Thanks for listening. I really enjoyed putting this story together for you. If you liked it, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories, and share it with someone who's into this kind of stuff. See you next time.